Hi there and good evening and welcome to the Jim Bohannon Show from Westwood One Radio. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Online, find us at JimBohannonShow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimbo Talks. A lot of people look forward to the time that they can retire. That isn't always easy to do. There are more and more people who never quite reach that point. But nonetheless, it remains a goal, and a worthwhile goal. If you put in a good life of hard work for yourself and your family and your company, what have you, you deserve that time. Well, you may not have noticed this, but there have been some changes that have been made through something called the Secure Act. This was attached to that massive mega spending bill that the president signed not long before Christmas. And we thought we would talk a bit about that tonight with the president of Heller Wealth Management, online at wealthmanagement.com. Larry Heller joins us, and good to have you back on. Thanks, Larry.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you indeed. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Should retirees be saying Happy New Year based on what Congress did? This on these omnibus spending bills, of course, things get tacked on like barnacles on an ocean liner, and it's hard to know what all has actually been passed. What has Congress done here regarding retirement?
Well, Jim, some of the things that they've done, they're going to like, but some they're not going to like. So one of the ones that they've done is at 70 and a half now, you have to take your required minimum distribution prior to 2020. So Congress has pushed that back to 72 and a half. So you don't have to, you can let your account grow tax deferred for a couple more years. So that's a good thing. It allows you to, make more money for you tax deferred. But it also could work against you because it may kick you into a higher tax bracket when you're taking the money out at 70 and a half. Also, the government is now allowing you to still contribute. If you're working after 70, you weren't able to put money into an IRA. Now you're allowed to contribute money into an IRA. So they're letting you do that. And there's a few other things the government is allowing you. The biggest drawback to this is really when you pass away and the money goes to someone other than your spouse, and which is called an inherited IRA. In the past, you were able to take out money over your life expectancy, called a stretch IRA. Now you have to take that out over 10 years. So that's where the government's going to make their money back in some of these changes.
In general, though, would it be safe to say that the new Secure Act takes into account the fact that we're living longer?
Absolutely. That's why they're moving the required minimum distribution back to 72, because it hasn't been adjusted since they came out with this the first time. So they're definitely moving that based upon the people living longer.
Yeah. Often things that get tacked onto a big spending bill like this are not too well thought out. I gather from what you've said so far that in the main you feel the Secure Act was fairly well thought out with perhaps some exceptions?
Well, like anything else, there's always some political groups in here. One of the groups, the insurance companies, have managed to now have annuities in your 401k plans. I'm not sure if that's, the best thing out there. So that's kind of slid through this part. One of the things that they are trying to make it more advantageous is to get people to contribute to their 401k plans, because a lot of people, unfortunately, don't, and then they get to retirement age and they don't have enough money. So one thing in here that they put in, that employees now, if they do what's called auto pay, instead of having to opt into a 401k plan, you can opt out. And if the employer puts that in, they will get a tax credit, and they are allowing them to put in all the way up to 15% of pay, hoping that the employees will not opt out and will start to contribute more, and therefore would be helping them when they get to retirement age.
In general, I've seen some figures from time to time over the years which indicate that the average American especially as we look at this giant bulge of the demographic, the boomer generation, as they keep hitting retirement age, and many of them, of course, have already done so. As we look at that great demographic bulge, an awful lot of people are not terribly well prepared at all. I mean, dangerously, desperately unprepared.
Absolutely. There is a study that shows that, between ages 35 and 64, there may be close to $4 trillion in a shortfall of people that are going to, retire. So, almost 40% of households out there are projected to run short of money later in life. And that becomes a problem. And then it also becomes a problem because then where are they going to turn to for needs? And that could be Medicaid, which puts a whole nother burden on this country.
Yeah, and again, burdens, of course, must be paid for by somebody. Or, of course, we do have the option of continuing to pile things onto the gross national credit card, which we continue to do with great abandon. This troubles me a great deal. It is very hard to break this economy. It's the biggest the world has ever seen and the strongest the world has ever seen. But then again, we've been working to break it now so hard for so long. And it's not as though we couldn't become a great big Greece, could we not?
We could. I mean, eventually, you're going to have to pay the piper somewhere. You can't just keep going into debt. But we shall see. And you've got another issue. You got the Social Security issue coming somewhere down the road that has been, we're going to run out of money somewhere, not maybe your generation, my generation, but our kids' generation. So that has to be addressed somewhere. So that's another ticking time bomb as well.
1-866-50-JIMBO, our number, 1-866-505-4626. If you have thoughts or concerns about your retirement, you could do a lot worse than to talk to the president of Heller Wealth Management. That's what he does. He helps people get their financial ducks in a row. Larry Heller, our guest, and the website is hellerwealthmanagement.com, H-E-L-L-E-R, hellerwealthmanagement.com. Our number, 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Before this Secure Act was passed as part of the massive spending bill, I can't recall the last time there was a substantial rejuggling of retirement laws in this country. Has it been a while, or did I just miss that?
No, it's been a while. I mean, there are certain things that have happened each year. One of the good things that they've been doing is increasing the max that you can put away into your 401k, and they've added what's called a catch-up provision if you're over 50. So now this year in 2020, you can put $19,500 away in your plan, and another $6,500 combined, so another total of $26,000. So, I mean, that's really critical, is trying to get to that point where you can maximize what you're putting in. We always tell people that, when you get a raise or an increase, or just try to increase a little bit that percentage, and to just put away as much as you can till it hurts, and you'll be so much better off down the road.
I don't know how much people learn about basic math these days in school. But there are two words that are really vital to learn about. Those words are compound interest. And that is to say, if you put away just a little bit, really early, just a little bit, so you miss a trip to the pizza joint, whatever. But you can, with just a little bit getting socked away, you can wind up when you hit, say, 65-ish or so, you can wind up with a huge nest egg out there. Absolutely.
The compounding, in your 20s, and, I use pizza. I use Starbucks in trying to give up a Starbucks and taking that extra money and put it away. It does have an effect. Unfortunately, people don't realize that at such a young age, and we try to show them the numbers and the compounding. And it really is important to start early, early in life. I have 3 boys that are young right now, and, we talk about how much they can put away. And there's also 2 parts of what you can put away, depending upon what income you make. So that's an important factor now with some of the changes, that you may be better off contributing to a Roth 401k. Not all plans have that option, But if you're a lower tax bracket, you may be better off contributing to a Roth, because then later on when you have to take the money out, you don't pay taxes on it at that point.
Stay with us, more to come. And if you have questions, concerns, an idle interest, or maybe a very deep-seated gut-level interest in the whole notion of retirement, Larry Heller's the man. He's the president of Heller Wealth Management. His website, hellerwealthmanagement.com. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the Jim Bohannon Show at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. We're talking with Larry Heller, the president of Heller Wealth Management, and looking at two things, really. The overall picture of retirement in this country today, and secondly, what changes have been made by this thing called the Secure Act, tacked on to the monster spending bill signed by the president just before the holidays. 1-866-50-JIMBO as we talk to Jim in Akron, Ohio next. Good evening, Jim.
Hi, Jimbo. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. Yeah, I early on when I started looking into my company's 401k, I took out a brokerage account instead. And it's been very beneficial to me because I was able to buy stocks instead of just being in a 401k where they kind of have worthless stocks that don't really make any money. Do most plans offer brokerage accounts now?
So many accounts don't offer brokerage accounts because most participants aren't astute enough to figure that out. And really, I think most people are better off with, S&P 500 index funds in their 401k, low cost, funds in their 401k, and letting that grow for them. And we have seen an improvement in a lot of those funds. One of the things that you lost by doing that is you've taken after-tax dollars instead of pre-tax dollars to make it grow. So hopefully your gains have outperformed that part that you lost.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in that regard, but it's just seemed to me that you could get dividend stocks and that type of thing as long as you don't go crazy and you invest properly. That it's just as well for someone to do that as long, but it is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But this new law that passed, I like the fact that I don't have to take my RMDs for 2 more years. I can leave
required minimum distribution for those who don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then that way, because if you take it out now and have to pay taxes on it, and then there's nowhere to put it after you take it out. The banks have no interest or little or no interest. So where do you put it if you do take it out? Get my drift?
Yeah, well, we certainly do get your drift. I mean, in some parts of the world, I guess they actually have negative interest in which literally burying your savings in your backyard will pay you a higher rate of return, Larry.
I was actually just going to say that, Jim. Yeah, that's a challenge. But the other thing is not to be afraid of, equities. People are living longer. So even at 70, a lot of people are living to 90. So not that you want to have all your money in equities, but with interest rates as low as they are, you need to be careful and not just stretch to try to get returns without circling there. So it is definitely a challenge on the interest rate side.
Yeah. Regarding stocks in general, I've read, and of course this is generalizing, but that doesn't mean it's not overall true, with some exceptions, I'm sure. Younger people whose whole experience, let's say, in investing had to do with the crash of '08, are very shy about going into stocks.
Well, I think that we're 11 years past that. That was for a while, and there are certain people that still are. But I think that people are forgetting about that, and that now that you're seeing last year was a 30% rise in the market, that's when people start to now jump in, and maybe it's a little bit too late. But I think people are actually doing the other thing. They're forgetting about the the 2008. Although we're getting questions now about the decade. It's been such a good decade. Should we kind of look at the next decade and not be as aggressive? So it's always a good time for equities if you're looking at long-term time horizons.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I don't believe there's ever been a significant time period in American history in which if people held on to stocks long enough, they didn't make money.
Yes, right. There's been a couple of 10-year time frames where it's been flat, but now you're talking about going back to the Depression years, and the 10 years after that have been phenomenal. So if you're really looking at equities with long time horizons, and that's what you should be, there hasn't been those downturns.
And if you look at the Great Depression, the 1929 Depression, you look at that, there are more than a few people who have become major names, who have become mega billionaires, because back in the early 1930s, when everybody was hurting, people scraped together enough money to buy a few of these incredibly depressed stock prices and then rode them to future wealth. I mean, the fact is that people who try to steer clear of the stock market, I have always had mine managed. I've had brokers and the like, and for a long time I had a no-load mutual fund. I mean, I never pretended I could play with the big boys on picking stocks, and it never appealed to me as a game. I just simply said, okay, we'll go with a reputable mutual fund, and I never lost money on the deal.
Right, and that's a great idea. Even Warren Buffett says, that anyone today should, put their money in low-cost mutual funds, one of the greatest stock pickers out there. So over long periods of time, no, you won't lose your money, or it hasn't in the past lost money.
James in Beaver County, Pennsylvania is with us. Hi, James.
Hi, Jimbo. How are you, sir?
We're well, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, I have a question for Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jim.
Okay.
James.
Hi, Larry. Okay, so you did say this, but I didn't get it all. Okay, so I have an inherited IRA from my wife. She passed a couple of years ago. So that came to me, and I kept it, and I put it into another fund because I couldn't pay the taxes on that, So, okay, so it's doing fairly well. So I got RMD for 1 year. I'll get it again this year. Now, if something would happen to me when I pass away, my kids, what would happen to that? They're beneficiaries on it. So,
with exactly what this new Secure Act now says, with this new law, when they inherit that, they are going to have to take that distribution out over 10 years. So within the 10 years, they're going to have to take out the entire amount, whereby before they could actually stretch that out over their lifetime.
So in other words, if I would pass away tomorrow, they would have to take that for 10 years.
They'd have a total of 10 years, right? Is that it, Larry?
Yes, that's correct. They have a total of 10 years to take it out.
So they would split that 50-50, and then, they're two beneficiaries.
If heaven forbid you passed away here in 2020, they would have until early 2030.
Well, what's the tax burden on them for that?
Well, that's the thing. So if they're working, you're going to add So now you're going to add that income to their income, and they could be in a higher tax bracket. So that's the one downside to this new Secure Act, that if they inherit that while they're still working, that they may pay higher taxes on that.
Yeah. More to come. Stay with us on the Jim Bohannon Show. 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626 with Larry Heller of Heller Wealth Management. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the Jim Bohannon Show at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Worrying about a rainy day is a worthwhile thing. Of course, if you don't do anything but worry, that's not so good, but worry at least enough to get off your can and do something. Larry Heller helps people like you do something about their preparation for retirement at HellerWealthManagement.com. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO. 1-866-505-4626, and looking at how to cope with the requirements of retirement, in particular in the context of this new Secure Act just signed into law by President Trump. Here's David in Wilmer, Minnesota to join us. Hello, David.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I'm inquiring as to whether or not it would be wise to convert a traditional IRA at age 53 to a Roth IRA. And I'm wondering if the tax savings would be beneficial to do that.
That's a great point that you're making there. And the answer is it really depends upon what tax bracket you're in. So at 53, if you're still working and you're in a higher tax bracket, it may not make sense. But if you, for any reason, have no income during the year, if you're not working for that year, or if you're in a commission job and you have low income, it's great to fill up the lower end buckets. What we're doing for clients that maybe now have retired at 65 and have not taken Social Security, we're delaying the Social Security and they have very little income. We're filling up either the 12% bracket or the 22% bracket if they're going to be in a much higher bracket when they are now 72. So you really need to do the analysis and see when the break-even point is down the road and what tax bracket you are in now and what tax bracket you will be in when you're 72 to see if it makes sense.
That help out, David? Go ahead.
Do you know of any websites that one could go to research the advantages and disadvantages of doing that?
Well, I would actually talk to your accountant because it's really, specific to your tax brackets. We have some software that we use, but your accountant should be able to help and advise you and let you know what bracket you're in now. I'm assuming you're still working, David, correct?
Let's get David here. But David, are you still employed?
Yes,
He is still employed.
I'm still employed.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so you may be in a higher bracket that it may not make sense to do a Roth conversion right now. So I would discuss that with your accountant.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir, David. Thank you for your interest. And again, this is important stuff, folks. You've got to look out for yourself. There is not any kind of cradle-to-grave guarantee where you can just simply sit back, kick back, and hope for the best. That's not the way it works. 1-866-50-JIMBO, our number, 1-866-505-4626. We've heard the term Social Security come up, and I suppose there are still people who are planning on retiring on Social Security, which is virtually impossible, on top of which it was never intended for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this country, there are people like that. So that's why we're trying to get more people to put away. Remember, the previous generations, maybe 2 generations ago, they had pensions that were, done when you work for a corporation. Those are mostly gone. So it is important to put more money away and not just rely on Social Security.
Important stuff to keep in mind. 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Looking at what you've seen of this Secure Act and our general status in regard to retirement, if you could just be the czar of American retirement for a moment, your word was law, what changes would you make?
Well, I would eliminate some of these rules, and the government's trying to do that with the 401k plans to incentivize that, and also Social Security, maybe be able to invest some of your own money in Social Security rather than through the system there. Those are kind of some of the interesting out-of-the-box things that I would like to see, but I don't think we will see that anytime soon. One thing that they are doing is small businesses, they're incentivizing them with tax credits to start these plans, and now they're actually allowing some of the plans, small businesses, to group together called a MEP plan, which will lower the expenses to do these plans. So they are doing some of these plans. We just got to get the word out there, and we got to educate younger people to put more money away earlier. That's really the key. Maybe more of advertising and commercials out there to get people to put more money away will help the next generations.
Let's talk to Lewis. He's listening tonight in Atlanta on the Jim Bohannon Show with our guest, Larry Heller of Heller Wealth Management. Hello, Lewis.
Hey guys. Larry, got a question for you. I'm 59 years old, and I had my own business for a number of years, and I was able to sock away about $400,000 in my 401k. But my business crashed and burned about 5 or 6 years ago, and I've just been living off that money, and thank God the stock market has done so well that actually this year I made more money in the stock market than I would have if I would have been working. But that's not going to go on forever. But here's my question I have as far as taking money out. I understand that at 59 and a half, I can start taking money out and not have to pay the 10% penalty. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's actually a little loophole called the 72T. You can actually take it out earlier if you did it on equal installments. But let's just assume you're going to wait because you're so close to 59 and a half that you're going to wait to them. But yeah, at 59 and a half, you would not have a 10% penalty.
Okay.
All right.
The next thing is that
Go ahead.
I've been talking. If I may, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I said you go ahead. I didn't know there was the next thing. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. The next question I have as an add-on to that is that I'll be coming up in a few years to where I can start taking money out of my retirement account. And, you know, there's discussion. Do you want to take it out or do you want to wait till it's at a higher amount? But just at my simple math, it seems like if I take it out early, the amount's going to be lower. But if I take that money and it's allowing me to invest that money and make a higher return, I think that, you know, instead of waiting 5 or 6 years, that's a pretty good chunk of money that can be put into the stock market and make a much better return than if I waited to make a little bit more money some years down the road from Social Security. What do you say about that?
Well, you should be able to invest the money in your retirement plan as it is. You don't have to take your money out to invest it in the stock market. You should be able to invest it in the market, in the plan, and let it grow tax deferred for you.
Oh, yes, that's what it's doing right now. Absolutely. It's growing all tax deferred. But in a few years, I'm going to be able to start drawing Social Security. The thought is there's the school of thought, well, you start taking Social Security as soon as you get it, then it's better to wait when you can get a larger amount. But in doing the math, it seems like if I was to start investing that Social Security money when I start drawing it at 62 and drawing, let's say I can get 9-10% a year return on that at a minimum, then it makes more sense to take the money as soon as you can instead of deferring to years down the road. What do you say about that?
Well, 9-10% seems a little high to be predicting going forward now. Social Security doesn't have the risk in there. Plus, the longer you wait on the Social Security, the higher your payout is going to be. So I'm not sure that's the best advice to take the Social Security earlier and invest it.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more calls for our guest, Larry Heller from HellerWealthManagement.com, 1-866-50-JIMBO. We'll be back in a moment. Glad you're with us on the Jim Bohannon Show, 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Larry Heller, the president of HellerWealthManagement.com, is our guest, and we're looking at how you navigate through those last years, what they call frequently the golden years. For many people, that's probably not the right color. We have a call from Mark. He calls in from Cleveland tonight to talk with Larry. And Mark, good evening. Welcome.
Hello, Jim. I listen to your show all the time.
Thank you.
And Mr. Heller, thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure, Mark.
My question is, I believed all the government, when they started these traditional IRAs back in, I think it was like 75, they said retire a millionaire. Well, I started saving, and I've saved $2.7 million. I'll be 68 years old this year. Now, I'll never use this money, but it's sitting in a traditional IRA, and the people that I deal with, they've been wanting me to make a conversion to a Roth for about the last 5 years. And with this new Secure Act now, since I'm never going to use this money, but it's going to end up going to my heirs, they have 10 years to clean that account out. Do you see any advantage of me? I don't see an advantage at my age now of even converting any of that because I'll never use it. And whether it's in the IRA account or in the Roth account, when they inherit it, it's going to be 10 years for them no matter what.
No, I think your people that are talking to you are correct. And converting into a Roth absolutely makes sense if you're in a lower tax bracket now, because if they ever take it out over 10 years later on, they'll take that out and pay no taxes on it. If you're 2.7 million gross, if you're 62 and you make 7.2% on your money, the next 10 years that could go to $5.4 million. So
Larry, I'm 68, and I think doesn't that Secure Act, doesn't it cover inherited Roths also? They have, I think the inherited Roth, you have 10 years to empty that account out.
Correct, but the difference is there's no taxes on the inherited Roth. So at 68, you may want to look and see when the break-even point is. If you think you're going to, live to 90, it definitely is something to consider, because if you could pay a little bit taxes each year now, rather than paying much higher taxes, or your children have higher taxes, plus that money would then get, if you leave it in a traditional IRA, the distribution would get added to their regular income and definitely kick them into a bracket.
Well, yeah, you are correct about that. So, you've given me some things to think about. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you very much. 1-866-50-JIMBO, our number, 1-866-505-4626. And back with more with Larry Heller, the president of HellerWealthManagement.com, in just a moment. Glad you're with us on the Jim Bohannon Show at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. And as we take some more calls for Larry Heller, the president of HellerWealthManagement.com, I hear this frequently. Oh, boy, there was some great advice you had on your show last night, Jim, but of course it's too late for me. Here I am. I'm 55. Too late for me to worry about retirement now.
No, it's never too late.
Exactly. But is there any way to make up? Let's say you've waited to you waited to you're 55, and you really don't want to work forever. Are there shortcuts? And I ask this knowing full well that there are undoubtedly pitfalls connected with that. But if you want to play catch up, is that even remotely beneficial?
Absolutely. I mean, just now that you can put away $26,000 in your 401k plan if you're 55, and saving money outside. It's never too late. At 55, if you're working another 10 years, it still gives you plenty of time to at least get some money put away. So, and if the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always tried to tell these people. But it sounds better coming from the mouth of an expert. Larry Heller, our guest, and Marie is in Pittsburgh tonight. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I listen to you every night on the way home.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an IRA and money will be left in there after you have passed, the children get the money, but I was told they would have to pay a great amount of no set tax on it, depending on how much money you have in it.
No, so it depends upon how much you're taking out each year, plus what other income you have will determine what your tax bracket is.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Marie, and good luck to you. We appreciate that very much. Is there ever any benefit, Larry, in taking out more than the required minimum distribution?
Yes, because, again, if you're in a year maybe where you have, very little income and you want to take some more out. So if you're, let's say, close to, if you deferred your Social Security at age 70 and you're retired at 65, you may have these 5 years where you have very little income. So you may actually want to take out earlier than your required minimum distribution. Once you get to 72, it kind of changes whether it makes sense to take more out or not at 70. At 72, it really depends upon your living expenses and what your tax bracket is going to be.
Mm-hmm. What are there any downsides? Let's put it this way: are there any downsides to employment in later years? You're retired, you'd like some extra income, you want to keep active, and so you go out there. Maybe it's just would you like fries with that or whatever. But is there ever a time when that is financially at least a bad idea?
No, I mean we have a lot of clients who are working past retirement age 70 because they like doing it, even if it's only part-time. We're seeing that more and more. People are slowing down at earlier ages and working part-time, and you can still put money away in your retirement plans. And not only is it beneficial financially, I think mentally it also helps. Oh,
believe me, it helps a bundle. And I think that alone would be worth even a small financial sacrifice were that ever the case. 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. What's the biggest thing you find yourself doing these days as you handle Heller Wealth Management? What's the biggest problem people bring to you and or the biggest opportunity?
Well, actually, the biggest problem, surprisingly, is people don't plan. They don't know actually how much they're spending. So when they come to us and we say, okay, we're looking at their visions and their goals and their dreams of retirement, and we ask them, okay, well, how much you saving? How much you spending? And they say they don't know. That's the biggest problem across the board, is we've got to get people to really, I don't want to use the word budget, but at least project what their expenses are going to be and what their income is going to be so they know how much they can save. That's the biggest challenge. Once you start to put a game plan together, it's actually proven you can have a more successful retirement. So we got to get people to actually, to do that more.
1-866-50-JIMBO. And Susan calls in from Lexford, Pennsylvania. Good evening, Susan.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. I enjoy the show all the time, Jimbo, just by the way.
Thank you.
I'm calling in a little late, so missed the point you might have made. But I've heard some callers call in that have greater needs, but I didn't hear anything mentioned about the life insurance inheritance and that being tax-free to assist the relatives in paying taxes. And I just thought maybe that needed mention. But then also, as Pennsylvania, and there's another handful of states, we also have state inheritance tax. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on that as well.
Okay, you got about 15 seconds here. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, sure. So now actually insurance is actually coming back into play. If you have a very large IRA and there's going to be taxes due, keeping a life insurance policy to offset some of those taxes may be prudent.
Fair enough. We'll wrap on that note. Please stay on the line, and we will speak off air. That's Larry Heller, the president at HellerWealthManagement.com. I'm Jim Bohannon, and this is Westwood One.